What's going on, warriors? Welcome back to the next episode of the EU4 tutorial series, and this time I am going to continue exploring the tabs that exist. And why is it so hot in my apartment? It's so hot. Anyway, so now I'm going to explain the economy tab. The most important place that you want to look in your economy tab is right here where it says balance. This is going to tell you if you're making money or losing money, and exactly how much. Alright, so if you are losing money, then you're going to want to stop that, and you're going to be wanting to gain money, right? Well, there are a number of ways that you can gain money. We're not going to go over all of them right now, because I'm just going to give you kind of a brief overview of what everything is. But here you can see where you're making your money. So if you're not making a lot of money here, you can look at it and see your modifiers and percentage modifiers. For example, taxation efficiency. Okay, tax efficiency. If you have really low tax efficiency, perhaps that's from a certain modifier. Maybe the clergy is unhappy with you. We'll go over what the clergy is soon, probably within this video, so stay tuned. And you can see, okay, well, what's affecting this? You see, is anything hampering your income at all? These are your expenses. If you're paying a ton of money on something, you really want to know what that is and how you can control it. For example, if you're spending way too much money on forts, let's see, I don't want to spend a lot of money on this fort. Well, I've got two options. I can destroy this fort and I can completely negate the maintenance on it, but then I'm not gaining the benefit of actually having a fort when there's a war. Or I can mothball it and just pay, and I click this check mark here to uncheck it, and then the garrison empties, and now I'm only paying half maintenance for that fort, and then if I go to war, or if I unmothball it, then the garrison will fill up, and I'll be paying full maintenance again. But now, you can see I'm making more money because I've mothballed it. Now I'm only losing 1.5 ducats per month for the fort. You see this? It says Castilla la Vieja, which is 0.5. All right. Maybe I'm spending too much money on advisors. All right. So maybe I fire an advisor and I'm making an extra ducat a month, right? A ducat 02. Ducats are the name for gold in this game, so that's what we call them. We don't call it gold. Don't say gold. That's for Crusader Kings 2. State maintenance is a different thing because we have like states in our country, and we'll get into that eventually. And then there are other things where you can actually control how much money you're paying for them. Like, for example, army maintenance, you can actually slide down and you can be making more money here, but then you're taking a hit on morale. So current effects, it says morale of armies 0.89, which is actually pretty big at this stage in the game. So if and you see these little green bars here, they turn yellow because they're not at their full value, because they're being artificially limited. So you want to be kind of careful of that. I guess we could ally Navarra. Let's ally Navarra. And a royal marriage. No. But we would be gaining the extra money. So, let's put it back up though. It's quiet. What do I want to do? We cannot have an adulteress for a queen. Maria must go. Do that. As devout Catholics, the only way to end a marriage is to request a special dispensation from the Pope. It is almost unheard of that he would grant such a request. If we only had some influence with the papal state, perhaps we could have leveraged it to change his mind, but it turns out we are without power in this situation. So we lose 10 prestige. Dang it, man. Alright, we can also root out corruption. Now, if we spend more money rooting out corruption, then it will decrease faster, but it gets very, very expensive the more you spend on it. So I like to just leave it here. And that way we only root out 0.1 per month or year, I think. I don't know. Anyway, we can take another tech. This is military tech 4. We'll explain the technology in a second. Also, we're going to be able to go to war very soon. I'm actually going to claim Granada. Now, before I unpause the game, because I want to declare war as soon as possible, I'm going to explain some more of these tabs. This is the trade. Now, I don't actually use this window very often. This will tell you how much of your income comes from trade and exactly the number. Now see, that's 3.42. That's this number right here. It's coming from Sevilla because our main trading port is Sevilla. Again, we'll get into it. It shows our mercantilism. Mercantilism is always a good thing, okay? And actually, if you want to manually get mercantilism, you used to not be able to do this, but now you can spend 100 diplomatic power to get just one mercantilism. That tells you how good it is, because do you see, I have 10% mercantilism, that's 20% extra provincial trade power. Trade is a whole different beast in this game. I pretty much understand it, but there's still some things that I'm not too clear on. But anyway, more mercantilism equals good. Another powerful modifier is goods produced, but you don't need to view it here. Basically, the only reason to look at this window would be to see your trade range, maybe, and to promote mercantilism. And to see the active trade nodes that you can interact with. Some are too far away. You can't really interact with a trade node in China yet because you're not there yet. You don't have enough trade range. Next is technology. So, if you're coming from CK2, then this should be pretty straightforward to you. If you're coming from Civilization 5, this will be very different for you. Civilization 5 is a technology tree. Okay, so it's like you won't always get the same technologies as your neighbors and things like that. But technology in Europa Universalis 4 is very linear. You just pay a certain amount of points to get the next technology level. All right, you can see we are military tech 4, diplomatic tech 3, and admin tech 3. And we can see the different benefits that we get at each tech level. Okay, this is one of the two primary uses of monarch points, is leveling up in technology. So, as you can see, you spend monarch points strengthening your government. Well, now you might have to kind of reduce your ability to advance in military tech. So that is why it is. It's kind of like a trade-off. A lot of this stuff in this game is a trade-off. The other primary use of monarch points is ideas, and we will get into it when it comes around. Just take a look at this screen, drink it in, and we're gonna move on. Prepare Reconquista. Let's see. 100% of force limit. To have one general. Oh. We just have to build up to force limit. Oh, I could do that. I could easily do that. Okay. So our force limit. This is requirements for the thing. The requirements. Okay. Alentejo area. Aragon area, Catalonia area. Oh, interesting. Convert Iberia. Whoa, this is really interesting. Okay, so these are missions, by the way. Just in case you're wondering about this. Discover the Caribbean. Okay, that's going to be a long time. But, in case you're wondering about this is just kind of like giving direction to your nation, and not every country is going to have this. That's why it has our flag here, because only Castile has this mission, prepare the Reconquista. Alright? But we'll get into it again. We also have to build our navy up to force limit. 2 transports. That's it. I don't want to build too many like heavies and stuff. We got to be able to pay for these troops. All right, then we got decisions and policies. We'll bring it up as it becomes relevant, but you got stability and expansion, so this is where you can boost your stability for about 100 admin power, and then it increases by 50 every time you boost it by 1. Lower levels of stability, it's still 100 admin power. War exhaustion, if you stay at war for too long, then your people get tired of fighting the war. Your colonial policies and everything, we'll get into it. Religion. We are Catholic. Over time, we're going to want to reform. We can also interact with the Pope. And this way, the papacy. So we can spend papal influence for certain things. We can gain certain benefits like this. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Because I mainly just get the free stability. 100 papal influence equals 1 stability. So we'll do that. But that's about it. Next is our military. There's a lot of stuff to drink in here. A lot of modifiers. You can see all these modifiers. I'll explain them more in depth as we get into it. There's also a subjects tab, but we don't have any subjects right now. So these are vassals, marches, personal unions. If we are a subject, then it'll show our overlord there. Tributaries, colonial nations, what are they called? Trade companies as well. Different kinds of subjects. And then we've got the estates. So the estates are different factions within our country. We can interact with them in different ways. The burghers are like the merchants, the very rich people in our country. What we're actually going to do is we're going to interact with them in these ways. And bring the influence up a little bit like that so we can gain some free power. We can also get some money from them. Free money. And then the clergy, which we will seek support from and then demand admin support. I probably could have gotten 150, but anyway. And with the nobility, we actually don't want to make them lose loyalty. The three factors up here that you see are their loyalty, which is how much they like you. Their influence is how much influence they have over politics in your country. And the percentage of land that they actually control, because you can actually give land to them and they can actually control provinces. Our nobility controls 35% of our provinces. That's all of these pink provinces. And actually, probably we want to revoke some. We probably want to revoke a little bit. Yeah, let's revoke this one. Extremadura. Yeah. It's going to reduce their influence, but it also reduces the minimum autonomy down to 0. And we'll get into autonomy as well. But those are all the tabs. So, we got to prepare the Reconquista. In order to do that, we've got to have a Navy 100% of force limit, Army 100% of force limit. Force limit is a soft cap on how much of an Army and Navy you can have. So our force limit is 31. We can go over the force limit, but when you go over the force limit, it gets exponentially more expensive. So you need to be careful about how much over the force limit you go. For ships, it's 20 ships. For armies, it's 31,000. So we need to build up 10,000 more troops, which will be mostly infantry. 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That'll bring us up to 31,000. And then once we have that, then we'll hire a general. Okay. Yeah, now we have a claim on that. The Renaissance has appeared. So the way that this game simulates certain countries and certain regions of the world getting ahead of other regions, mainly Europe being ahead of the natives in North America, and Asia being ahead of the tribal nations of West Africa, is through a mechanic called institutions. One of these institutions is the Renaissance, which spawns in 1450. Well, it can spawn later, but usually it spawns in 1450. In Italy, and it will spread to a lot of places in Europe. Basically only spreads in Europe and does not naturally spread outside of Europe. If you embrace the institution, once it appears in your country, you can see that it's in Toledo at 0.24%. It's going to be going up a certain amount. You can look at that. Once it appears in that province, then it will spread to other nearby provinces, adjacent provinces, and it will branch out from there. And when it's in enough of your country, once it's in a minimum of 10% of your country, based on development, which of course we'll get into there as well. Oh, build a force limit. Like that. It's a mission. When you complete the mission, you get a certain reward like that. For 25 years, you get morale of armies plus 5% and land maintenance minus 5%. Okay. Yeah, so we were talking about institutions. Eventually, you can embrace it, and it will cost money. It will cost ducats, and then you get this benefit here: construction cost minus 5% and development cost minus 5% for the rest of the game. it will also reduce your tech penalty. So next year, if we do not embrace the Renaissance, then we will have a tech penalty of 1%, which means that when we take the next technology level, it will be 1% more expensive, or 6 monarch points. The base cost is 600, and so 1% extra is going to be 6 more monarch points. Okay. There are other ways to reduce tech cost, like different ideas, but again, we'll get into it as it comes up. In addition, you can actually develop. I'll also use this opportunity to talk about development. Another way of spending your monarch points is through development. So as you can see, when we click on a province, ooh, 1 innovativeness. I like that. Exchange for 10 prestige. Gosh, we're at negative 86 prestige. Anyway, in exchange for some monarch points, you can increase the development of your province. You can see these 3 numbers here, okay? These 3 numbers are base tax, base production, and base manpower, okay? We already found out what manpower does, okay? So that one's very straightforward. For every base manpower that you have in a province, it will give you 250 extra max manpower. And the amount of manpower that you gain per month is such that it will take 10 years at the base rate to fully replenish your manpower. Okay, so it's going to be, you know, a little less than 10% per year. No, it will be 10% per year. It'll be a little bit less than 1% of your manpower per month. And that is why it's 25,000. 1% of that would be, you know, 251 or 252, but we have 235. That's what the rule for manpower is. So this is going to translate into like an extra 2 manpower per month if we just increase this. And it will increase the total development level, okay? This number right here, that's how many points it actually will cost in order to develop. Oh, we have a... Sweet! It's a female heir. Okay, she. So we might get the Castilian Civil War, but... Yep. Oh, gosh. Anyway, we can just... Juana, Isabella, the first, just Isabel. What was I explaining? Oh, development. Now, this cost can be modified by certain things, like, for example, the capital city is going to always be less expensive to develop. I forgot what the maximum discount is, but yeah, and then... Based on the level of development, it will be more expensive to develop there. I believe that's like sort of exponential. So yeah. Now that we're also up to force limit, we also need a general. That's kind of a crappy general. But now we get this, we get free claims. They're actually permanent claims on this area. So I want to declare war here. Oh wait. Oh yeah, I don't need the spine. I want to declare war here. So I click that, and you choose your casus belli. So should it be for Granada, Gibraltarique, which is Gibraltar, or Maria? And I'm going to choose Maria because there's no fort there. Granada is a fort, so it will take a little while to get. We have to siege it, and it takes kind of a while to siege, so that's why we'll take Maria. Actually, Gibraltar would probably be good, because there's no fort in Gibraltar, and it's not controlled by an estate. Now, for those of you that don't know, you can see that this is controlled by the emirs, and... Wait. Oh, never mind. It's only if they're loyal. If the nobility is loyal and they control a province... If they're loyal, it means that their loyalty is above 60%. Or maybe it's like very loyal. If their loyalty is above 60%, then they actually increase the local defensiveness of a certain area by like 25%. So, and defensiveness is that means like how long it takes to actually siege a province. So 25%, it's pretty good. But it's only if they're loyal, so actually Maria is fine. So we'll declare war. All right, we're going to select Maria. and it notifies you that they have allies. Now, if we click this checkbox, it means that we're declaring them a co-belligerent, which means that they can call in their allies as well. See, right now, if I declare war on Granada, they'll call in Tunis and Mazab, and that's it. Those are the only 3 people that can join the war. But see, Tunis is allied with Granada, Jared, and Mazab. So Mazab is in common, but Jared is not. If I declare war on Granada and I declare that Tunis is a co-belligerent, then Tunis can also call in Jared, even though Jared is not an ally of Granada. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. Mazab is allied with Granada and Tunis, so that would not have any benefit. And the reason for declaring a co-belligerant, you might think, well, why would I do that? You know, there's more people in the war. The reason that you would do that is if you wanted to take a lot of land from both people. If they're not a co-belligerent, then it's twice as expensive to take land from them. If they are a co-belligerent, it just acts as if you're declaring war on both of them at the same time. And so it's just a normal cost to take land from them or anything from them, really. But we don't need to take any land from Tunis right now, so we're not going to declare anybody a co-belligerent. And then for our allies, it says Navarra would just absolutely not join, and there's a favors system, which we'll get into later. But we don't have 10 favors from Navarra, so they don't want to join the war. Portugal, it says this little hand thing, and so what that means is that they will accept the call to arms if we promise them land. So if we say, hey, Portugal, if you join us in our war, we will give you some land in the peace deal. Then they'll say, okay, we'll join that war. We'll be a part of that. We'll help you out. And so, but if you break that promise, if you win the war and you don't give any land to Portugal, then they're going to be very upset with you. They're not going to trust you as much in the future. And they might actually, if they distrust you enough, they might break the alliance. But we don't want that to happen. So, if they're willing to join without you promising them land, then it'll be just a green check mark. All right. So we're going to declare war. Confirm. Boom. All right. We are now at war. I also want to get another general. So we're going to recruit. Oh, this is good. All right. So there are 4 values of a general. And let's see. This one has 1 siege. So actually, I'm going to put him on a fort. The 4 values of a general are fire, shock, maneuver, and siege. Fire and shock are the 2 phases of combat. And we're going to be getting pop-ups from like naval battles and stuff. But fire and shock are the 2 phases of combat. Maneuver affects if the general can, like, I think it affects their speed. And then it also affects certain terrain penalties. Like, for example, if you attack somebody in the Highlands, these are Highlands. You can see this, Highlands. Then it says dice roll for attacker -1. So they're going to get a -1. But if you have a certain amount of maneuver that is more than your enemy's general, then you might actually be able to negate that. Okay, now see, look at this. Granada has this little army of 1,000 men here. And I'm going to go over and fight them. Now, this is a rule that probably a lot of people know about if you have played at least a little bit of this game. These ships are going to get destroyed. These ships are going to get destroyed. Unless I just tell them to stop. Time to stop. 3 of them got destroyed. No, 2 of them got destroyed. They captured 1. Alright. Now this is sort of like a rule that they don't really talk about in this game very much, but if you outnumber the enemy 10-1, which we did because it was 15,000 versus 1,000, then it instantly eliminates the enemy army. So if they have an army of 3,000 and you have an army of 30,000, instant destruction for the enemy. Okay? Alright, yeah, so, yeah, 3 of our light ships got destroyed, but we are going into port there, so. And we are sieging. Okay, now this probably would be a good time to explain sieges. Alright, so every siege phase is going to be as a base 30 days. Now, it's being increased because we can see the fort defensiveness is 44%. Now, why? First of all, because it's the terrain. Granada is like plus... Hold on, what? Granada. Plus 25%. Yeah, okay. I see this. So, do you see this terrain? It's usually mountains. Mountains have a base local defensiveness modifier of 25%. So, mountains are inherently easier to defend, and they're really good places for forts. Okay, and then we can see that the province is producing salt, so that has to do with the good that the province is producing, which we can see here. We roll over here, and it says salt, local defensiveness, local, not fort defense. Local defensiveness means it only applies to this province, right? If we go to, let's look at ideas, and I'll explain this when it comes up, as I said, but defensive ideas here. And you can see this, defensive mentality, fort defense plus 20%. That applies to your entire country. But for this province, it's only this province that gets that bonus. And also, you can see in the mountains, local defensiveness plus 25%. And then also, power projection. Power projection is another thing that gives you fort defense. And mysticism, that's a factor... That's a thing that has to do with their religion, with Sunni. So because they are Muslim, they have like a sliding scale between mysticism and legalism, and they give them different modifiers. Now, every siege phase, it's going to roll a die that goes between 1 and 14, okay? But then also certain things are added or subtracted from the actual dice roll. So, siege status. So here's what's going to happen. All right, I'm going to just explain this to you, and then we will see it actually play out. All right, in 5 days, when the siege phase runs out, then we will have a new value here, the last die roll. Okay, then we've got our leader siege. That's our general's siege skill. Do you see the siege 1? We can also check in our military view. We've got this general, Rodrigo de Figueroa. Okay. Fire, shock, maneuver, and siege. He's got 1 siege pip. That means that here, that's what that translates to. This is for artillery. Currently, there exists no artillery in the game, so right now it's irrelevant. But in the future, when countries get artillery, then you can actually use that artillery to siege forts faster. Then, there's the modifier from being not blockaded. That's -2. Now, if we take our ships over here... I don't think they have any heavy ships. Yeah, they actually do not have any heavy ships. So we're going to take this. We're going to move our heavy ships over here. And we actually don't have any admirals. An admiral is sort of like a general, but in the water. I might want to actually fire one of these generals so that we can make... Because we have a leader limit of 2, which means if we have another admiral, it's a soft cap. There's a lot of soft caps in this game. But if we... get another one, then it's going to actually cost us an extra military point per month, which we don't want. We don't want to spend monarch points on this. But I think having 3 heavy ships would be enough. So if we just take our ships over here, they're going to try and blockade this province, which will add... Oh, dang it, man. I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you guys. Anyway, that's reduced by 2, and then the fort level is reducing it by 3. The fort level is 3, okay? The capital city gets a free fort level. So ours is Toledo, and so it's, do you see capital city plus 1? It's also got a castle there. That's the first fort there. That's the building right here, and that increases the fort level by 2. We see Castilla la Vieja only has a level of 2, okay? So higher fort levels equal harder to siege. And here's for walls breached. This is a very low chance of happening, but it can happen. All right, so basically they're going to roll a die. All right, it's going to add to the siege status, and it's going to come up with one of these values. The red values are impossible. The green, or sorry, the yellow values are possible. Okay, If you roll a 1 on the if you roll a 1 on the die, then the attacker's numbers are reduced by 5%. So then you have to use your manpower in order to replenish them. All right, but if the total result is 5 through 11, okay, we're going to look at 5 through 11, then it's a supplies shortage, which, as you can see, would add 1 to the siege status, okay? If it's not 5 to 11, then it can either be a food shortage, which would be +2, which would actually be better, or it could be status quo, which means nothing. It just stays the same. Now, let's add these up. So we got 4 minus 5. So we've currently got -1. Which means if we roll a 14, by the way, if you roll a 14, you breach the walls and you add 1 over here. Okay, so it's like an extra 1. If we roll a 14, we'll get a food shortage, which will add +2 to the siege status, and we'll breach the walls. So that'll add a total of 3. A water shortage adds 3 to the siege status, and that is the best. And then after that, there's Defender's Desert, which is just only +1, so you don't really want to get those. Water shortage is actually really hard to get. So is a food shortage. It's easy to get supply shortage and Defender's Desert. So watch this. So if we roll, so we got a -1 right now. So let's see how it turns out. As this siege phase runs out, also we're going through this battle here. Oh, I really hope we don't lose this. See? Okay, we rolled a 9. So 9 minus 1 would be 8. Now, it said that if we got 5 through 11, we would get a supply shortage. That's exactly what we got. It added 1 to the siege status, and this is supply shortage, which is the last thing that happened there. There are also some buttons over here, like if you want to assault, if you get a wall breach, then you can do that. You can. Oh gosh. Okay, our heavy ships are still doing well. I'm just looking at this naval battle right now. I'm kind of afraid of losing a ton of ships. But I might be able to win this battle? I don't think I can. I destroyed some of their ships, but anyway, and now we're paying, and by the way, do you see, to fully reinforce your navies, you need 393 sailors, and 72 will reach navies this month. So it's a certain amount per ship that will go to it each month. 58 now, because some of them are fully repaired. Now, he's also repairing his ships. And I think probably we need another heavy. Let's click that. Heavies are 50 ducats, and they cost like half of a ducat per month in maintenance. Alright, so I'm going to end the video right here. I talked about sieges. I talked about a lot of stuff in this video. It's a lot to wrap your mind around, I know, but, you know, we'll get into more, and it should become more clear as time goes on. And maybe we might, in the next episode, explain why these guys seem to be fighting nothing. Anyways, I want to thank everyone so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like, subscribe, join the Discord server. It helps out so much. And also, you know, Patreon and chill, if you know what I mean. Maybe the Patreon goes towards the new computer so I can do this stuff easier and all that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you guys next time.